Okay.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to episode 9 of Beyond the Spotlight. I'm here today with
Adrian Castro.
Adrian Castro.
Yes.
Please give us a little background of yourself.
Little background. Okay, I'm from Costa Rica.
Mhm.
I am from my professional side. I'm a filmmaker.
You're a filmmaker.
Yes,
Okay.
that's my. I went to school in Argentina for that, so I lived there
Okay.
for almost 5 years.
Mm.
I went to school for 3 and then worked almost for 2
Okay.
over there in live productions and also in film.
Mhm.
But before that, I'm from Costa Rica, like I told you, and I went to business school.
Okay.
And so I'm a business professional and
Uh-huh.
also a filmmaker.
Interesting.
And then I got into theater because life threw me that way.
So it started with film,
Yeah.
and then you slowly progressed to.
Yeah,
Theater.
when being a filmmaker, even any kind of art in Costa Rica is really hard.
Mhm.
It's very difficult. There's not much of an industry in any area, but at least as a musician, you can sort of do certain things.
Yeah.
But as a filmmaker, we used to have like, when I was born, like maybe 1 or 2 films every 3 years or 4.
Oh,
Yeah.
Like made
In Costa Rica, yeah, like a
Okay.
Costa Rican film.
Costa Rican film. Okay.
So yeah, of course there are a lot of commercials and other ways, but film, when you get into film, I think you get into movies.
Okay.
Like that's your first
Yeah.
love.
Uh-huh.
So movies, it was only like, yeah, let's say 1 a year
Okay.
in the best case scenario.
Uh-huh.
So when you are like, I want to become this, you immediately start thinking about or living elsewhere or just going to school elsewhere.
Mhm.
So during the time when I told my parents I want to be a filmmaker, they were like, oof,
Oof.
what are we gonna do right now?
It's a tough
It's a tough
industry.
yeah, tough way to go,
Uh-huh.
and they're worried about you and everything. So they told me, okay, we will support you, but can you do something before that?
So
And I
is that
was-
why you studied business?
Yes.
Okay. But would you say that studying business has kind of helped you in your film career in terms of thinking about budgets?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah?
Like I'm not very conscious about it, but I know that it does.
Yeah.
So at the beginning, my first jobs in Argentina, I got them because I had an artistic part and a business part, and they told me that like,
Yeah.
your CV is really interesting for us
Mhm.
because you have both parts.
Yeah, you have the
So-
business and the creative
Yes.
side. Yeah.
So I think it's always been, yeah, it's been something good that I did. Like, and I know when you're just coming out of school, like high school,
Yeah.
and you're going to college, you think that you have to go into something really fast and start. Yeah, that's the energy you have.
Yeah.
And every year you lose, maybe a year you lose in your career.
Mhm.
And I for sure, I thought about that when I was in business school.
Mhm.
So what I did is I was a dancer.
Okay.
So I danced like for 10, 12 years.
Did you do tap?
I did tap. I was really bad at it.
Okay.
But I was better like in hip hop and
Okay.
those types of
Okay.
dance.
So with in terms of do you prefer doing films or theater?
I think there's I view them like they are the same medium. Like they are.
Okay.
It's like, do you like driving an SUV or like a sedan or whatever? It's
Okay.
different, but they
Different but same.
yeah, but they take you the same places.
Okay.
You know?
So what's your creative process
Okay,
for a theater
production.
How do you start? How do you
That
develop
I
it?
think
How?
that depends, and if it's something original
Mhm.
or something I directed musicals that like famous musicals like West Side Story or Chicago or those.
Yeah.
So it's very different.
Okay. So let's say
Uh-huh.
an original. What's your
An
creative
original.
process for an original piece?
For an original piece, of course, it starts with the writing,
Uh-huh.
right? And what I figured, I went to a lot of writing classes and script writing classes and playwriting classes. And what I think they teach you is like you're supposed to do like an outline, just draft your whole story, create a structure for it,
Yeah.
and then write, like actually write the piece.
Yeah.
Very, very fast I realized that wasn't my process, and I thought I was on the wrong. And then I started talking to many playwrights and script writers. Some of them have that process,
Yeah.
and it's that my process is it's this. I think I have an idea,
Yeah.
something I want to write, and I don't outline, don't even take notes.
Okay.
Like, 'cause I feel when I have it written down, I lose the magic.
Mhm.
If it's in my mind, I still keep on thinking about it. And it's not that I think of it every day night because I work on other things.
Yeah.
It's mostly I'm driving
Yeah.
and then I start thinking, all right. Mostly it comes out when I'm like traveling on a plane and I have like
On a plane?
or lots of hours or someone's taking me or I'm on a train on a long ride
Mhm.
and I just have to sit there, read something or think about it. That's when something comes.
Okay.
So there's the idea and I think about it and normally I think about it, like I told you, not taking notes for a year and a half.
Uh-huh.
It's just developing in my mind.
Okay.
And then I sit down to write and I write it really fast because I still don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
I just have an idea of what I want to do. And then I say that characters take you through their journey. I
Okay.
always think I'm improvising, but for all of my characters.
Okay.
So sometimes I say in a scene, okay, the scene should start here and end here, and sometimes it ends another way. And I'm just I feel that if it's working, I'm challenging, how do I say it?
Challenging?
No,
Channeling?
channeling
Channeling.
my characters. So I'm just listening to them, and they took the scene other way that I never thought it would.
Okay.
So I have to get me out of that problem like you would in your life.
So like problem solving.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So because it simply worked better like that, so now you have to make sense of it.
Yes.
So you wanted it to end here, but
Uh-huh.
instead it ended here. So now to get to the next point, you have to make sense of it
Yeah.
in order to keep going.
And sometimes the next point has changed because the scene before that changed also.
Uh-huh.
The only problem is that for all the things I've written, because there's no pre-outlined or structured idea of it,
Yeah.
I almost always get to the middle of it,
Uh-huh.
and I can't go beyond that. Like I don't know how to go. So I know where when I get to that place, I literally erase everything and start again.
Erase everything?
Everything.
You don't keep a draft?
I don't keep a draft.
No?
No, it's something like, okay, now I know what the story is about. I can start again. And I normally get to that same place and it's easy to keep on going and then I
Okay.
finish. And it's really fast how that happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
With an original piece,
Mhm.
right? Like something like Chicago or
Mhm.
something, how do you honor the playwright's work
Mm.
while still inputting your own creative direction?
Yeah.
How do you play that balance, you know?
I think it depends on what you like about the piece
Okay.
and what are your references. For example, the thing that got me interested in musicals, apart from like the Disney movies I watched as a kid, was Chicago, but the movie.
Okay.
I remember going to the cinema without knowing what Chicago was or that it was a musical. I just went because it was like nominated for an Oscar or whatever.
Okay.
And I remember sitting down and watching that and coming out and saying this is the best thing ever and returning the next day.
You watched it again?
Yeah,
Okay.
because it was so impactful for me.
Okay.
And I think if you were a dancer at that moment, like numbers like the Cell Block Tango
Oh, so
really
good.
change your life. Like
Yeah.
it's still a reference.
Yeah.
Like it's like watching certain dancers, like great dancer, great choreography in music videos. That's still a reference. I think Cell Block Tango it's a reference for all dancers that were dancers at that moment
Yeah.
in time.
Uh-huh.
So when I directed Chicago, it was I want to honor the stage play because I really like the simplicity of it. But I know in the minds of people in Costa Rica who had not the opportunity to watch it live, the reference was the film. So I was battling between the grandiose idea about the film, the editing, the lighting, the everything, but in the same time honoring the original play, which is Fosse, which I love, which is one of my gods,
Okay.
Bob Fosse.
Would you say he's one of your like big influencers?
Yes,
Icons.
because he's a choreographer, he's a writer, and he's a director for stage and for film, which is so much my essence.
Okay. Because
Like,
you do the same, right?
Yeah, I'm not a choreographer. I know a lot about dance because I was a dancer, and I feel I can speak to dancers and to choreographers really well.
Yeah.
And they have told me that. As a director, so I know that, but I'm not that. But I feel his sensibility all through. Like if you can direct theater, but also film in such a great way, it's like one of my references.
Okay.
So for sure. So yeah, it's a balance. And then I did West Side Story, was my first show, which is so stupid because it's so hard to do. But I was just trying to like keep myself on the surface and try to survive that huge wave. And I almost copied everything that I saw from different productions and the movie, and it was like almost. And then when I did Jesus Christ Superstar, I hadn't seen the film, and I just remember a friend gave me a vinyl, and I put it on. I was cooking in my house, and I put it on. I of course melodies of the Jesus Christ Superstar because it's so famous, but I started listening to it, and I was like, this is really good. I think I could make something with it. So that's the show that it was actually, my concept was so out of what has been done with it.
Yeah.
It doesn't take references in any way from other productions. It was just my sensibility and what I could do with that music and what excited me to do with that music.
Okay. You directed Chicago?
Yeah.
Was it a success?
It has been the biggest success in musical theater history in Costa Rica.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you know why?
Because
we talked about this before, how you said the theater scene in Costa Rica is lacking a little bit. It's really hard to put up a production and for it to succeed. So for you to say that's a big thing.
It's a huge thing. What happens is that West Side Story was the first musical theater production in Costa Rica ever. This was 2015. Ever.
Damn.
So we were like pioneers in that area. Chicago was the second one. And I think we brought the knowledge from having done West Side Story.
Okay.
And I think Chicago has something that's really appealing in its comedy, in its boldness.
Yeah.
But mainly those two things. It's really easy to get into the story, because then I got hired to direct Chicago in El Salvador, which has a musical theater. Let's say musical theater has been a thing in Costa Rica for the past 10 years.
Okay.
Since 2015. In El Salvador, it has been for the last 5.
Okay.
So it's like a little later.
Very late.
Yes.
Very late.
So they hired me to do Chicago and to direct Chicago in El Salvador. And it was also a success.
Okay.
So there's something about that story which is easy for audiences, but also it's not that. If you have a good Velma and a good Roxy, it's not that demanding for the rest. And it looks good with less than other shows, for example, West Side Story or I know Wicked, or those things that are huge and very specific. I think where it's easier to get a good production of Chicago than many other shows.
Okay.
So I think it's a combination of all those things.
Okay. Do you have a favorite Broadway show or theater play?
That I've seen?
Yes.
Musical or play?
Either. Like all-time favorite live theater production performance.
Okay, there's something being so detached from the big theater scene anywhere, because I grew up in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
It happens to me. I don't know if it happens to you. That I think you're more used to watching the shows and things. And there's certain shows that you go and you're like, and I've gone out of the theater and actually walked for hours like in a cloud. Like it feels
like a surreal moment.
A surreal moment. And I can tell you the shows where that happened for me. An American in Paris, which I love because of the dancing.
Okay.
Once on This Island. The show that wasn't around. Come From Away, for sure. The play Lehman Trilogy, which I thought was amazing. Angels in America. Those are the ones I can remember right now. That I was like head over heels about it. And just the emotional impact of Dear Evan Hansen.
Yeah.
I think that I never liked the music before watching it, or the story, I didn't care about it.
Yeah.
And then I went, oh, now I get why this is big. You know, I just remember not crying on the show and just walking out of the theater and just sitting in a bench and crying out. Couldn't even speak.
Wow.
I don't know why, but that happened to me in that show.
It moved you.
Yeah.
Have you ever had an experience where you watched a show, like a theater production or something, and you would think like, wow, the actors are amazing, the production is really good, you know, the lighting, sound, everything is amazing, but the direction is lacking. I think I could do a better job. Have you ever had that experience? Like, I think I could have done it much more justice had I directed it.
It's a bold thing to say, I think, because of course all of us can criticize, like or dislike a show,
Yeah.
but it's so hard to do a good show.
True.
So hard
Uh-huh.
that I almost feel like I can't say that.
Okay. Okay.
But
here's
but yes.
Okay.
I don't
you
know
have-
when
Yeah.
or
but you
where
have.
or which one.
Yes.
But I maybe even in a film.
Yeah.
Like this was a really good story. Someone didn't make it justice.
Uh-huh.
Maybe that I could
Direction-wise.
have done something better. I don't know. Maybe, but yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Another question. In
Yeah.
your perspective,
Mhm.
right, as having the mind of a
Yeah.
director,
Mhm.
writer, what do you think makes a show amazing, spectacular? What are the elements? What are the factors that make it really sparkle and make it magical?
For me, there's a thing I said. I used to say it about film, and I think films and musicals, stage musicals, or musicals on film also. But I think films and musicals have the same thing. And that's why I think I like them. It's they take in so many art forms in one thing.
Okay.
Like film has photography, lighting, acting, music, direction, sometimes choreography, design, stage design, set design, costume design,
Yeah.
hair, makeup, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because it takes all of that, and musicals, plays also have it, but musicals seem to have we have musicians and music and singers and dancers. It makes it like so many art forms.
Uh-huh.
So I used to say this about film, and I also think it's the same thing in musicals and in plays. Yeah, you can say that. It's that everything has to be good for it to work.
It has to all the elements have to align
Yes.
and be in sync.
Yes, and that's
for
why
it
it's so
to all
hard.
work and be in harmony.
Yes, and that's why
Uh-huh.
it's so difficult to do.
Yeah.
Because you've seen in the Academy Awards, there are some films that are only nominated for, let's say, one actor or actress,
Mm-hmm. Or
And-
cinematography.
or cinematography,
Yeah.
but that's it, or a costume,
Yeah.
but that's it.
Yeah.
And you see the movie, and oh my god, the costume is amazing, costumes are incredible, or lighting is incredible.
Yeah.
Is it a good film? No, right?
Yeah. No.
So
I
for
agree.
you to say this is a good show,
Uh-huh.
many things have to come and synchronize in a way that's direction.
Yeah.
That's what I figured out. When you're directing, you're just steering a wheel, but when you're driving a car, well, it's me. I'm steering the wheel, but I don't know how everything works.
Uh-huh.
But I know where the car should go,
Uh-huh.
right?
Okay.
So I think as a director, I'm steering a wheel, but I don't know how everything works.
Okay.
I'm just saying, can we go here? And maybe if you do this, we can get here, and maybe if you do this, we can get here.
Uh-huh.
So that's why it's called directing, not doing. You know,
Uh-huh.
it's
Telling people
what to do and
what
having
to
a
do.
strong vision
Yeah.
to take it where you want.
Okay.
Yeah, because sometimes I think I'm involved in my productions. I'm involved in the poster,
Mm-hmm.
what comes out of as an image.
Like
for-
the marketing.
Yes, of course,
and
because
stuff.
I always say when you see a poster and you go to the show, it's all supposed to be linked,
Mhm.
right? So it's that. It's a strong vision to sort of know most of the time when to say we should go here and not here, and
Okay.
why? Because everyone's looking for you for answers.
Are you part of so when you have a play or a
Mhm.
musical, are you part of the casting process?
Yeah, for sure.
Like you insist on being part of the casting
yes.
process?
I think if you have a good cast,
Mm-hmm.
you got 60% of the show solved.
What do you look for in your actors?
I would say,
Other than talent, the
of
obvious.
course, you have to be a good actor. You have to
Yeah,
be
you
a
have to be a
singer.
good actor. You have to
yeah,
be
yeah.
that. Other
I
than
can-
the obvious, what do you look for?
I can tell
in
you
your
what.
actors?
It's really clear for me, especially in musicals.
Yeah.
Star quality.
Star quality.
Yeah, and if I
you
can explain
define
that, I can explain that. It's really easy when you have a casting call that's for dancers and you have like 100 dancers before you or 200 dancers.
Yeah.
It's when you're looking at this amount of people and just your eye keeps going to a certain person, and they may not be the best dancer. They
Yeah.
may not have the best skills or technique, but
they're captivating.
oh my god, yes.
Maybe it's their face, like facial
It's-
expressions or energy.
I think it's a whole thing,
Uh-huh.
but it's more energy. It's
Okay.
like, yeah, it's I don't know. It's this the star quality is these people that, for example, we were talking now. Liza Minnelli, she's an amazing singer, but she's not a great dancer. She's an amazing performer. But
Yeah.
when she's in a show with dancers around her, you cannot stop looking at her. But she's not the best there.
Yeah.
It's that, and the bad thing about that is, or the good thing, I don't know, is that you cannot. I think you cannot learn that.
Okay. It's just something that you have.
Yes, it's something that you bring in. I don't know if you're conscious
Something
about
that you possess.
Yeah.
Naturally.
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever hired an actor and then, I don't know, either right after or mid rehearsal you realized maybe this person wasn't the best choice for this specific project?
Yeah, that's why casting is so hard, because you have an idea of that person. You know exactly how that person's gonna be through process. And I don't want to work with people that I'm not happy to work with.
Yeah.
And not only talent. I'm thinking like, if does it have, does she or he or whatever have work ethics?
Yeah.
And is it nice to be around that person?
Yeah.
I don't want to create friction or bad energy in a company. I think it's too hard of a work to have that on top of that.
I mean, I think especially with theater, it's something that you're constantly, like, you have rehearsals every day.
It becomes family.
It's a family. It's vulnerable. You're acting. You're messing up. You're succeeding. It's a lot, and you're constantly together. So yeah, you have to like who you work with and who you're constantly together with.
And that's very hard to know beforehand.
Yeah.
So most of the times that I've thought that this wasn't the right casting, it was something to do with that. Of course, many times if someone's not getting what you want, you start thinking like, I remember that person, should I have hired the other person? But you don't know.
Yeah.
But most of the times have been sort of an attitude. Yeah, that's
attitude problem.
Attitude problem.
Okay. And then how do you manage that? Do you just have to deal with it, go with it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, you have to stop people if they are not being like.
Oh, right.
Like
if they're being unprofessional or anything like that. Yeah.
Look, we cannot deal with it. This is not.
Yeah. But you try to avoid it.
Yes, and I don't know if that's good. Like, I'm a really easygoing person, I think, as a director, even as a director, and that's when I feel I have to be more. I know, of a disciplinarian, I think.
Like in control.
Yeah, and I sort of let things pass and try that for that person to turn around. Maybe I think I trust people.
Yeah.
And so, but when that doesn't happen, I am there. Like, I've been in situations where I have to, and I normally do it as a whole, which is not very. It's not in just.
Yeah.
Like I do it like, hey, look, there's been little attitude problems here. And I know it's only for 3 people, and I'm talking to 20.
Right.
Which is that's.
You make it like a general comment.
Yeah.
Just to like.
Yeah.
Put it on their radar and make them aware that it's being noticed. Okay. So would you say that this statement is correct? Like, I've heard from a lot of directors, right, that they tend to work with the same actors, same production team. Would you say that's true then? Because you know what they're capable of, you know what they can do, you know what their strengths are, you know what their weaknesses are, like, you know what you're getting yourself into. Whereas when you have to hire new actors or actors that you've never worked with before, you don't know how they are. Or is it like a mix?
Of course it's a mix. Yeah, but the thing is, I think if you're a director, I think most directors are in love with actors in the sense that it's their medium for their dreams to come true. That's how I see it, because you need actors. There are some directors that are more visual, and they have an idea of how this should look, and the acting could be whatever, and the singing could be whatever, and it's more of a visual medium. But most of them, and most of the things that are good, I think, are well acted. Like, that's well written and well acted. That's the base of everything. You can do an amazing play with one light and no stage and one chair, but it has to be well written and well acted.
Okay.
That's those things you cannot take away.
So I guess going back to that question that I said, what makes a show sparkle? Would you say it's the writing and it's the actor? Yeah. In a way.
Yeah.
And with the direction.
Yes,
for
sure. So to get back to your question, I think that most directors and writers, let's say, are in love with actors. So when you get someone that gets your vision across, you're even inclined to get projects that cater to those people. Like, for example, I've worked with two people that I'm actually so thrilled to work again with them, and they are like young actors, less than 25 years old, both. And I've even thought about writing something that I don't know if it's a short film, a film, or a play, just to work with them again, like characters that they could do, and that I can push them to see even if I could get more out of them. That could be comedy, that could be more drama, that could be, I don't know, whatever. But I'm thrilled and I'm inclined to get projects for them. So that's, I think, why people work together, because that happens like unconsciously.
Okay. Do you have any advice, any wise words for anyone that's either wants to, become a director, become a writer, get into the industry? Yeah.
Well, the thing is that I've never been in an industry because I created an industry. That feels really cocky, but it's not. It's and I think it's even because I love musicals and I wanted to do them in Costa Rica, so I created a company just to do the first musical ever. I never knew if it wasn't be successful, if I could have done more than one. I didn't know that, but it was the beginning.
But you had the determination.
Yes.
To do it.
So, and I have to constantly. But for example, I've never directed a film, like a proper film. I've never got into. Of course, I want to do it, but that's more of an industry worldwide. I think theater is more like fractured by country or by city. Film is more like an overall thing. I think it's more universal. So I have to constantly remind myself what I did with musical theater, so I can do film. And this is my advice. Having said that, this is my advice. If you want to be really creative, I think you should read and watch things constantly. Like
expose yourself
constantly. Yes.
To different.
I think film school for me was 20% of what I know, 25-30%, and the rest is what I've seen and read out of a formal education. Environment and education. It's like everyone says, what was the class that you learned more in film school? That was like film history, hands down, because I was watching films from every background, every decade, and it was like, okay, I know what that's. Okay, you can do this. Okay, you can do this. And that's the same thing with reading books, reading screenplays, reading theater, going to the theater, going to the museum, and anything. It's like the first play I ever wrote, the second, which was really successful, was just, every scene I wrote was a scene I had seen in a film, which I just set the same or setting or place or type of character, and I just rewrote that scene because I was so in love with it. It was nothing the same. If you see it, you can never make the parallels, only if I told you. But at least it was my starting point. So it was a lot of references. So that's if you want to be creative. And then if you want to go into the industry, it's just, you can be incredible, but no one knows that you exist. And that's really terrible, and that's really heartbreaking. Like, I know people that are really talented and they haven't been to auditions or done their thing or whatever, and no one knows they exist. It's like really hard. It's like, if you want to do a filmmaker, take your stuff, get friends, do a film. It's not gonna work, or it would. I don't know. Theater, write something.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. Experiment.
No one would know you exist if you don't get first yourself out there. I think that's the first thing you should do.
Get yourself out there.
Just
do it.
Exactly.
Sponsored by Nike.
Are you gonna get some money?
I hope so. Oh my God, this was a really good conversation.
I liked it very much.
Thank you so much, Adrian. Oh my gosh.
Nice to meet you.
Okay. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Adrian, thank you so much for having this conversation with me.
I hope it works for people, because I remember when I was trying to get some things done, I was like, what And actually, I've learned a lot from watching things in my computer.
Yeah.
And this sort of things help a lot.
Watch, guys.
Yeah.
Expose yourself to stuff. Watch new things. Watch things you wouldn't think to
Yes.
watch.
Yes.
Just do it to
Yes.
experience it. All right, guys. Have a great day.
Bye.
Yeah!
You're good.
That
You're a
was
great
a good
interviewer.
conversation, bro.